Hold on, the game is scheduled for when?
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome in to this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my fifth year covering the University of Louisville, third year hosting this show, and I want to take the time to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services, 5 days a week, your team every day. Now, this episode of the show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. On the show today, it's all about reacting. We're going to react to three different developments that have come out recently. The first one being the Louisville-Kentucky rivalry men's basketball game scheduled for November 11th. Spoiler alert, I don't like it at all. I'll explain why coming up here shortly. We'll also discuss the ACC top transfer rankings in basketball. Some encouraging stuff for Louisville fans to hear about. More on that coming up in the second segment. And we'll also react to the ACC going with an 18-game conference basketball schedule for next season and beyond. I'll walk back a little bit of my early criticisms. However, the point is still going to remain the same. We'll take a look at some of the technicalities that also come with this announcement and much more. But the main story coming out on Wednesday, the Louisville-Kentucky men's basketball rivalry game will be played on November 11th, on a Tuesday later this year, early in the college basketball season. Now, for whatever reason or reasons as to why this was the exact date, I'm not sure. But both of the parties agreed to it. Who knows? It could be something as simple as trying to get some good rankings during football season when both teams aren't football powerhouses. I mean, I don't know, but both of the programs agreed to November 11th. But for whatever reasons, they can do what they want to do. That doesn't mean I have to like it. And I don't. And I think that, judging based upon social media and the people that I've talked to, and of course, social media doesn't always accurately represent the majority of fan bases, but social media is as displeased as I am, I feel like. And I really think it's just me being stubborn. Like, it's tradition. The football game always comes before the basketball game. The basketball game is always, close to Christmas and in the winter when basketball is in the full swing of things and we're getting closer to conference play. Like, I don't know. It just, of course, change can be difficult to go with sometimes, but it just doesn't feel right having this game so early, right? But I think that the truth of the matter and what keeps coming into my mind is that, well, regardless of when this game is played, the Cardinals need to win. Like, I don't care if the game is on November 11th, December 11th, January 11th, February 11th, July 11th. I don't care. Louisville needs to go into this game ready to play, and there are no excuses. Like, when it comes to mid-November next year, I'm not going to hear the whole, well, it was early in the season, that's why Louisville lost. And it's the same thing with December. It's like, well, it's not conference play yet, that's why we lost. You've got to start to muster up some victories in this rivalry because, I mean, let's face it, Kentucky has dominated this series for a long time. And, I mean, miss me with all the excuses. I just want to win the game, right? I don't care in the grand scheme of things. Like, I of course, I'd rather it not be November 11th. That feels kind of, I mean, it doesn't feel kind of, it feels way too early. But if that's when the game's going to play, sure, okay, win it. I don't care when the game is as long as you win. If you win on November 11th, great. If you win on December 30th, that's great as well. It's just a matter of going out there being ready to play. This is the first time that the basketball game has been played before the football game, according to famous Louisville statistician Kelly Dickey. This is the first time. In fact, the Cardinals and the Wildcats had not played a basketball game in November since the football series got renewed in 1994. Over 30 years of playing the game later than November. In fact, even before then, the two programs had only faced off 2 times in November. So again, this is uncharted territory for everyone, basically. So, but again, it doesn't truly matter when this game is played because you really just need to win the game. And for those that think that, well, Louisville's getting off easier because it's an early game, like, I don't get that. I don't get it because I feel as if there is little competitive advantage. Like, the only thing that I can think of, the only couple things that I can think of, I should say. Number one, I think the status of Jaden Quaintance is a very valid thing to discuss because he had the ACL repair surgery, what was it, like a month ago? A little over a month ago. So you're talking about, 6, 7, 8 months of recovery. Is he going to be ready to fully go by what's possibly going to be the second game of the year for both teams? Very valid point of discussion. And maybe an early road game for Kentucky does bode a little bit better for the Louisville Cardinals, but you saw the Cardinals last year. They had an early home game against Tennessee, and they got blown out of the water. I don't think that there's a ton of competitive advantage because both teams are reloading. They're bringing in the majority of, a good amount of new players. Like, Louisville might be bringing in just a tad bit more returning guys, but not many. Like, you lose a ton of your production, and even the guys returning, the majority of them didn't even play or played very little. Like, you're bringing in new players. So both teams are using brand new rosters with majority of new guys. It's not like this is a situation where the Cardinals are returning 9 players and Kentucky's bringing in 10 new guys. And like, it's not a huge competitive advantage. If there is one, it's very, very minimal. But it does highlight that Louisville has to start the season firing away, firing on all cylinders, because we saw how long it took them to get acclimated last year. Took them to late December. Now, they did go through some injuries that hurt the team, Case and Pryor, Corin Johnson, but you had Corin, you had Kaysen for that Tennessee game. Got blown out. Got blown out by Ole Miss. You lost to some other teams in non-conference play. And I think that another year of being an ACC coach is going to help not only Pat Kelsey, but his staff. I think that this is a more talented team. I think it's a deeper team. I think it is a team with less holes than last year's squad. And I appreciate this past year's squad so much for starting the revival. But you're not there yet. You still have some steps to take. And I think that the team's going to be better, but there is an added urgency now because you're playing your rival. Like, if you're playing, let's say, if you're playing Tennessee early on, like you did last year instead of December 16th this year. If you're playing Tennessee that second game, of course you still want to be urgent, but it doesn't mean as much as playing Kentucky. And that goes for both sides. Those that tell you the rivalry doesn't, hold more weight, they're just not telling you the truth, or they're trying to deflect. But that week is going to be a wild week in the city of Louisville because not only do you have the Kentucky game on Tuesday night. Well, look at the football schedule. You also will host the Clemson Tigers on Friday night, November 14th. So that is going to be an insane week of college sports for the Louisville Cardinals. And Clemson is, in my opinion, the best team on your schedule. They could be playoff hopeful when they arrive in the Derby City in mid-November. So this is a pretty wild time. Of course, we haven't seen the Kentucky game get played so early. But hey, I don't like it. I know a lot of people don't like it, but when push comes to shove and you look at this from a bird's eye view, you just need to win the game. Like, stop with the excuses. Stop with the, well, this benefits Kentucky, this benefits Louisville. Truth of the matter is, I don't think it benefits one team, significantly over the other. If one team is benefiting more than the other, it's very, very small in nature. So I don't like it. You all don't like it. Whatever. I just want to win the game. So when we come back, we're going to continue our reactions. 247sports.com released the top 10 players committed to ACC programs this offseason, courtesy of Grant Hughes. We will react to that ranking when we come back, and you're going to be pretty encouraged by where the Louisville Cardinals landed in these rankings. But first, I want to take the time to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game, whether it's Madison Square Garden, whether it is Oklahoma City, Denver, you name it. Every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be part of it without stressing the last-minute ticket hunting, because Game Time makes it easy and fast to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high, because prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Here's why I use Game Time. The all-in pricing means that you don't get surprised with any fees at checkout. What I see is what I pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And as always, Card Nation, want to take the time to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville podcast is free and available on all streaming services 5 days a week. Your team every day. Continuing on in our reaction episode of the show, we're looking at a publication titled College Basketball Transfer Portal 2025, Top 10 Players Committed to ACC Programs this offseason. This was compiled by Grant Hughes, which he is a member of the national news desk of 24/7 Sports. He's a content editor and social media manager for Inside Carolina, so has some ACC background. I'm going to take a look at this because I was pretty intrigued, because the conference has brought in some pretty high-profile guys this offseason. Say what you will about the conference as a whole, but I don't think it's because of lack of effort in this portal window. And we're taking a look at where guys ranked on this list. And this is something that you're interested in because recency bias is a thing. Like, Louisville identified their top 3 guys. They got them to visit. They got them to sign right when the portal opened. Let's take a look at the rankings. 3 transfer portal guys that are in the discussion: Isaac McKneely, Ryan Conwell, and Adrian Wooley. Where did these 3 players land? Number 10 is Trey Donaldson, going from Michigan to Miami. Jerron Pierre Jr. at number 9, going to SMU. Number 8 is Nathan George from Georgia Tech to Syracuse. 7 is Malik Renault from Indiana to Miami. Number 6 is Nick Davidson, Nevada to Clemson. Number 5 is Henry Visar from Arizona to North Carolina. So that means Louisville has 3 players in the top 4 potentially, just because they haven't been listed yet doesn't mean that they aren't currently, doesn't mean that they are all for sure going to be numbers 4 through 1. Number 4 is Isaac McKneely. Grant says McKneely is one of the 3 top 25 transfer portal prospects to commit to Louisville this offseason, tied with St. John's for the most in college basketball. He's number 23 overall, number 4 shooting guard. He led Virginia in scoring this past season, ranked first in ACC in three-point percentage, earned all ACC honorable mention honors for his efforts. I like this spot here. I think that it's not too high. Of course, I think that Louisville has 2 players that are going to be justifiably higher, but I also love the appreciation for him because he was a really good player on a bad team that lost their Hall of Fame head coach right before the season. He had to do pretty much everything at Virginia, and he did them pretty well and pretty efficiently. So I think that he gets viewed at as just a shooter, but he's much more than that, much more dynamic, where when he plays for Louisville here in the fall and the winter, you're going to see a player that is mainly going to be shooting the basketball. Don't get it twisted. He's one of the best shooters in the country. But I think that there's going to be an aspect of ball handling and putting the ball on the floor and getting to the basket that sort of get overlooked when we talked about Isaac McKneely, but I like that he's number 4 in these rankings. Number 3 is Ryan Conwell, the Xavier transfer. He's number 17 overall, number 4 combo guard. Conwell reportedly had multiple 7-figure offers on the table out of the portal after averaging a team-high 16.5 points a game this past season at Xavier. The 3-time transfer set to join Louisville after previous stops at Indiana State and South Florida. The lethal shooter finished this past season with 20 or more points in 5 consecutive games. Hughes goes on to mention a couple of different things. But again, really like that Ryan Conwell is getting his flowers, because if you're looking for battle-tested and having that level of production, averaging over 15 points a game in the Big East is not really something that's easy to do. So Conwell, again, getting the appreciation on these national lists despite maybe the Louisville class being talked about in a way that doesn't really depict how good the class really is. Like, it's not being talked about like it should. So Conwell being number 3, I thought was a pretty good spot. I'm okay with Cedric Coward, the Washington State transfer, going to Duke. I'm okay with him being at number 2. But Adrian Wooley is the number 1 player on this list. Hughes goes and says, Wooley not so quietly enjoyed one of the best freshman seasons in college basketball, averaging 18.8 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 3.6 assists a game at Kennesaw State to go along with 1.4 steals. Wooley is the number 2 ranked combo guard in the portal this offseason and is expected to be a major contributor at Louisville in 2025-26. Eric Bossy had this to say: for our money, Wooley was the best non-high major freshman. Wooley dazzled as a scorer from all 3 levels. This guy is going to be a star. Is it going to be this year? Possibly. But I think that as a freshman, to have that season is really special, regardless of whatever level you play at. And then you also factor in that most of the typical progression in a college career comes between the freshman and sophomore seasons. This isn't your typical mid-major freshman feasting on bad competition. Like, Kennesaw State might not have had a great team, but to be the top scoring option for the Owls and to do so efficiently, like, it's huge. Louisville having 3 top 4 transfers in the ACC. They identified 3 elite options to go after. and they got all three. Pat Kelsey said coffee's for closers. He did exactly what he said he was going to do, and that's make some noise in the offseason. Love to see the Louisville Transfer Portal class get a ton of love from the national media. Also coming up on the show when we come back, ACC has officially moved to an 18-game conference schedule beginning next season. I was pretty blunt in my criticisms last week. I'm going to walk those back a little bit, but not all the way. More on that when we come back on this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with the Fire TV Stick 4K devices with no console required. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including the Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and the Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Final segment of this Thursday edition of the show. We discussed the possibility of this about a week ago, and it got finalized and announced on Wednesday. According to a press release from the ACC men's basketball to feature an 18-game conference schedule beginning in the 2025-26 season. If you want to hear my first reaction to that possibility, you can go back to the there's an episode about a week ago, like I said, where I was really critical because I thought that the conference was indirectly telling the rest of the country that our teams aren't good enough collectively. I'm going to walk that back just a tad bit. And the reason behind that, well, there's a couple of them. The first thing is the conference used to have an 18-game schedule before they moved to the 20-game about midway through the 2010s. Well, actually, it was, I'm sorry, they had the 18-game schedule up until 2019, 2020, which they installed in the mid-2010s, and then they moved to the 20-game schedule around the COVID time. The Big 12, before last season, implemented an 18-game schedule. So that's a reason why I'm being a little bit less critical and walking things back a bit. It looks like there were a couple different factors that the ACC had in mind here that sort of prompted the move to 18 games and to add 2 more non-conference games. And it looked like they just wanted to give their teams autonomy to schedule how they pleased. And they took some like ratings aspects into mind and all that good stuff. But the reason I'm not fully walking back my criticism is because it seems like a part of it is still due to the ACC not getting as many teams as they'd hoped to in the NCAA tournament last year. I just don't really think that should be a deciding factor because the issue wasn't that you didn't have enough non-conference games last year. The issue was that you lost your non-conference games. That meant something. You went 2-14 in the ACC SEC Challenge. Good amount of those were blowouts. So I guess the answer could be more non-conference games. I mean, if you play 2 bunnies and you win both of those, more power to you. It's not really going to help your resume. Or if you schedule tougher teams, if you don't win those games, how much is it really going to help you? I still think that you have to win games. But whatever. 18-game schedule, cool. Not going to get too mad at it. I mean, Louisville's going to have a chance to schedule 2 other teams in the non-conference slate. But let's take a look at the format and how this is going to work. I'm reading this verbatim. It's a little small excerpt. The 18-game schedule features teams starting league play in late December and ending on the first Saturday of March. Each team will play one primary partner, both home and away, as well as one variable partner, home and away, which, end quote, that's the secondary partner that they keep referring to. Back to the quote. The variable partner will be determined each season. Teams will play one game, home or away, against 14 of the 15 remaining teams annually. So, key thing to note here is that the primary pairings have been made. Louisville will be paired with SMU, who is a new member of the conference. I wish it was somebody I wish it was a team that Louisville had more of like a historical rivalry with. Like, I would love to see like Syracuse be the team that Louisville has the home and home with. Like, that Duke and Carolina are going to play each other because that's obviously going to have to stay the same. But maybe Pittsburgh would have been one that I would have looked at. Maybe Virginia, but it is what it is. SMU is the team. I think that with Andy Enfield at the helm in Dallas, the Mustangs are going to be competitive. They were a pretty decent team last year. They're doing well in the portal. So I figure that SMU is going to be a pretty solid team, going to help Louisville's resume out. So it is what it is. Not really too awfully displeased with that. There's going to be one team in the conference that you don't play each season. I'm going to be focused on who that team is going to be for Louisville this year, who that secondary partner is that the Cardinals will play. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. More and more, the ACC Conference Tournament will be held in Charlotte, North Carolina this upcoming season. I don't know if that's set to change at all. Seems like it's going to stay in Charlotte for the foreseeable future, but not much changing here, just sort of the technicality aspect of removing 2 conference games. So I do like that Louisville gets a chance to schedule 2 more non-conference games. I hope that with at least one of those, you schedule a respectable opponent, but that's going to be up to Pat Kelsey and the rest of the coaching staff. So let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on the Louisville-Kentucky game being scheduled for November 11th, what you think about the ACC top transfer rankings, and the conference going to the 18-game schedule. That's going to wrap up this Thursday edition of the show. Everyone have a great day. Go Cards. We'll see you right back here very soon.